the moment Prince Harry and Meghan Markle showed support for Princess Eugenie. People didn't just notice, they started asking questions. Because in the world of the royal family, even a small gesture can carry a much deeper meaning. For a long time, there's been a lot of distance between Harry, Meghan, and the rest of the royal circle. Public appearances have been limited, communication has seemed quiet, and every interaction has been watched closely by millions around the world. So when this moment of support came forward, it naturally caught attention. Princess Eugenie has often been seen as someone who keeps a balanced and respectful relationship with different members of the family. She has maintained a relatively low profile compared to others, but at the same time, she has stayed connected in her own way. That's why the situation feels different. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's meaningful. What makes this more interesting is the timing. Whenever public figures choose to speak or show support, especially in sensitive family dynamics, timing is never random. It often reflects a moment where showing unity matters more than staying silent. And that's exactly what people are trying to understand here. Why now? Some believe this could be a simple human gesture. At the end of the day, beyond titles and public roles, these are still people with personal relationships. Support in difficult or important moments is something anyone can relate to. It doesn't always need a deeper strategy behind it. Others, however, see it differently. They think every move made by high-profile figures like Prince Harry and Meghan Markle is carefully considered. From public statements to subtle signals, everything can influence public perception. And in a media environment where every detail is analyzed, even a supportive gesture can spark widespread discussion. It's also worth remembering that relationships inside the royal family have gone through many changes over the years. Moments of distance, moments of closeness. It's never been completely one-sided. Because of that, when a positive gesture appears, it stands out even more. At the same time, there's been no official controversy or confirmed conflict directly involving Princess Eugenie in this situation. That's important to keep in mind. Much of what people are discussing comes from observation, interpretation, and public curiosity rather than verified facts. And that brings us to the bigger picture. In today's digital world, where headlines travel fast and opinions form even faster, it's easy for a simple act of support to turn into a major talking point. But not every moment needs to be turned into drama. Sometimes, it can simply be what it looks like, a show of support. Still, the public interest isn't going anywhere. People will continue to watch, analyze, and form their own opinions about what this means for the future. Whether this signals stronger connections or is just a one-time moment, only time will tell. For now, what we do know is this. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle chose to support Princess Eugenie, it reminded everyone that even in a world filled with headlines and speculation, human connections still matter. And sometimes that's enough to make people stop, think, and watch a little more closely. As people continue to look at the situation, another layer starts to appear, the role of perception. With figures like Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, even a small action can quickly turn into a global conversation. Support, in this context, is not just personal. It becomes public, symbolic, and open to interpretation. What's interesting is how differently people react to the same moment. Some see this as a positive sign, a reminder that despite everything that has happened in recent years, there are still bridges that haven't been completely broken. That connection, even if quiet, still exists. And in a family as widely followed as the royal family, even a small sign of unity can feel significant. On the other hand, there are viewers who remain cautious. They don't immediately see this as a sign of something bigger, but rather as a simple and respectful gesture. Nothing more, nothing less. And honestly, that perspective also makes sense. Not every moment needs to carry a hidden message. When it comes to Princess Eugenie, her position has always been somewhat unique. She isn't constantly in the spotlight, yet she is still closely connected to key members of the family. Because of that, moments involving her often feel more genuine and less influenced by public pressure. Another thing worth noticing is how quickly narratives can form online. Within hours, different interpretations start spreading, some positive, some skeptical, and some purely based on curiosity. But without official confirmation or clear statements, most of these remain opinions rather than facts. This is where it becomes important to separate what we know from what we assume. What we know is simple. Support was shown. What we don't fully know is the deeper reason behind it, if there is one at all. And that gap between fact and interpretation is exactly where public interest grows. At the same time, this moment also highlights something broader about public life. When you live under constant attention, even normal human actions can take on a larger meaning. A message, a gesture, or even silence can be analyzed in ways that go far beyond the original intent. There's also the possibility that this moment is simply about maintaining respect and connection in a very public environment. In families, whether royal or not, relationships evolve. They go through phases. And sometimes small actions are just part of keeping things steady rather than changing them completely. As the conversation continues, one thing remains clear. People are watching closely, not just for what is said, but for what it might represent. Every move is observed, every detail discussed, and every moment becomes part of a bigger story that keeps unfolding over time. And maybe that's why this moment stands out, not because it was loud or dramatic, but because it was subtle. In a space where big headlines often dominate, a quiet show of support can feel just as powerful, if not more. So whether this leads to something more in the future or simply remains a respectful gesture, it has already done one thing. It has brought attention back to the idea that even in highly public lives, small human moments still matter. And as the discussion keeps growing, it also starts to reflect something deeper about how audiences engage with stories like this. People are no longer just watching from a distance. They are actively forming opinions, comparing past moments, and try to connect the dots between what has happened before and what is happening now. With figures like Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, history plays a big role in how every new moment is understood. Their journey over the past few years has been widely covered, discussed, and debated. Because of that, even a simple gesture today can feel connected to a much larger story that people already have in mind. At the same time, Princess Eugenie continues to be seen as someone who stays away from unnecessary attention. That's why moments involving her often carry a different tone, calmer, more grounded, and less driven by headlines. It adds a sense of authenticity that people notice almost immediately. Another important angle here is how quickly attention shifts. Today, this moment of support is being talked about everywhere. Tomorrow, something else could take its place. That's the nature of the online world. Fast, constantly moving, and always looking for the next story. But some moments, even if they are brief, leave a lasting impression because of what they represent. There's also a level of curiosity that goes beyond just this one situation. People are interested in what this could mean for future interactions. Will there be more moments like this? Will communication become more open? Or will things return to the way they were before? These questions don't have clear answers right now, but they keep the conversation alive. What makes this even more interesting is the balance between public and private life. On one side, everything is visible, discussed, and analyzed. On the other side, there are personal dynamics that the public may never fully understand. And somewhere in between, moments like this appear, simple on the surface, but layered underneath. It's also worth considering that not every action is meant to send a message. Sometimes support is just support. No strategy, no deeper plan, just a natural response in a particular moment. And while that might sound simple, in a world full of speculation, simplicity can often be overlooked. As viewers, it's easy to get caught up in theories and assumptions. But stepping back for a second, this situation can also be seen in a more straightforward way, as a reminder that even highly public figures still experience relationships in a human way. They connect, they support, and they respond to moments just like anyone else would. In the end, whether people see this as meaningful, strategic, or simply respectful, it has already achieved something important. It has brought attention, sparked conversation, and reminded everyone that even the quietest gestures can carry weight in the public eye. And maybe that's the real takeaway here. Not everything needs to be loud to matter. Sometimes, the moments that say the least are the ones people think about the most. So in the end, what we're really looking at is a moment that feels simple on the surface, but meaningful in how it's being received. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle chose to show support for Princess Eugenie, it didn't come with a big announcement or dramatic reveal. And maybe that's exactly why it stood out. In a world where everything is often loud and attention-driven, a quiet gesture can feel different. It leaves space for interpretation, for curiosity, and for people to think a little deeper about what it could mean. But at the same time, it's important to remember that not every action needs to carry a hidden message. Whether this was simply a respectful and personal show of support, or something that reflects a slightly warmer dynamic behind the scenes, is something only time can truly answer. For now, all we have is the moment itself, and the way it made people pause, notice, and talk. And sometimes that's enough, because in the end, it's not always the biggest headlines that matter the most. It's the quiet moments that stay with people long after the conversation fades. And as this moment slowly fades in the headlines, it leaves behind something that's a bit more lasting than just a passing story. It reminds people that not everything in the public eye needs to be dramatic to matter. Sometimes, the smallest gestures carry a kind of weight that big announcements simply can't match. With Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, every action is often viewed through a wider lens, one shaped by past events, public conversations, and ongoing curiosity. But moments like this gently shift the focus. They bring things back to something more human, more relatable, and less about headlines. And for Princess Eugenie, it also highlights how even those who stay away from constant attention can still become part of meaningful conversations, simply through quiet connections and mutual respect. In many ways, this is what keeps people watching. Not just the big stories, but the subtle ones. The moments that don't shout for attention, yet still manage to hold it, because they feel real, they feel natural, and they leave just enough unanswered to keep curiosity alive. As the conversation settles, what remains is not a confirmed narrative or a clear conclusion, but a sense of possibility. Maybe it's a sign of something gradually shifting, or maybe it's just a reminder that respect and support can exist quietly, without needing to be explained. Either way, it adds another layer to a story that continues to evolve over time, one moment at a time. And perhaps that's the most honest way to look at it, not as a final answer, but as a small piece of a much bigger picture. A picture that isn't fully visible yet, but continues to take shape with every passing moment. So as we move forward, this moment stays where it belongs, not as a dramatic turning point, but as a quiet reminder, a reminder that even in the most public lives, the simplest actions can still feel the most genuine. And sometimes that's exactly what makes them worth noticing. And as everything settles, one final thought stays with us. Not every moment needs a clear explanation to have meaning. Sometimes, it's the quiet gestures that speak the loudest over time. With Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, this moment may not come with answers, but it does bring a sense of calm curiosity. And for Princess Eugenie, it simply shows that support, even in a very public world, can still feel personal. Maybe nothing major changes after this, or maybe small moments like this are exactly how bigger changes begin. For now, it remains what it is. Simple, respectful, and open to interpretation. And sometimes, that's more than enough to keep people watching